Bruce Lee stepped into the ring only once, and the fight that followed became one of the most questioned moments in his entire legacy.
In the beginning, I had no intention or whatsoever that what I was practicing and what I'm still practicing now would lead to this to begin with. But martial art has a very, very deep meaning as far as my life is concerned.
What unfolded inside that school gym was far from following the usual expectations Bruce Lee had trained under. Yet, the outcome forever altered how the world saw him. Stick with us in this deep dive, because what Bruce managed to achieve in that ring is far more astonishing than the legend that would later grow around him. The moment that changed everything began when the record was set. Bruce Lee's sole documented boxing match stands out for a reason. Nothing about it looked like the early beginnings of the iconic figure we know today. Back in 1958, Bruce, a teenager at the time, entered a school gym, stepping into a match that didn't align with the unique way he had been training. But this raises a question. Why would Bruce, already skilled in Wing Chun, enter a fight that would restrict so much of his ability? The answer was pragmatic. His school needed a fighter after another student had dropped out, and Bruce, with his speed, confidence, and discipline, honed through his Wing Chun practice, was a logical choice. Despite not being a trained boxer, Bruce knew that this was not about showing off his mastery. It was about filling a need and testing how well he could adapt to a situation that didn't play to his strengths. This decision showed his readiness to face the unknown rather than avoid it. The situation took a turn when Bruce found out he would be facing Gary Elms, the reigning champion. What had initially been a match to simply fill a spot now became a test against one of the best in the tournament. A champion whose background was entirely different from Bruce's. Those who witnessed a match described Bruce stepping into ring calm and focus, not attempting to mimic a traditional boxer or force his Wing Chun techniques into a system that wouldn't allow them. Instead, he adjusted his strategy to fit what the rules allowed, leaving out anything that wouldn't work within the structure. By the end of the day, this would become the only official competitive fight tied to Bruce Lee's name. That match will forever serve as a point of reference for understanding how Bruce Lee approached combat, especially when the rules didn't favor his unique style, the world that shaped the fight. To truly grasp the significance of Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing match, it's essential to understand the world he was immersed in at the time. The environment of Hong Kong in the 1950s was a unique blend of British educational influences and traditional Chinese cultural practices. On one hand, the school systems encouraged Western sports like boxing, while on the other, Chinese martial arts, such as Wing Chun, thrived in the neighborhoods. Bruce Lee moved fluidly between these two worlds, absorbing influences from both without fully committing to one over the other. This cultural hybridity helps explain why Bruce, a teenager trained in close range, traditional Chinese martial arts, would end up competing in a Western boxing event. The question that arises here is, how does a teenager raised in the context of Wing Chun, a martial art focused on rapid close-range combat, end up competing in a sport with an entirely different set of rules, one that emphasizes distance and power punches? The answer lies in Bruce's personal behavior during his teenage years. Known for his quick reactions and tendency to get into fights, Bruce was often in conflict, both at school and in the streets. Recognizing that his impulsiveness could lead him astray, the adults around him saw the need to channel his energy into something structured. Wing Chun provided him with the discipline he needed, while boxing offered him a new, formal set of rules to follow. In looking at these two disciplines, we can see how they complemented each other. Wing Chun taught Bruce to be efficient and to avoid unnecessary movements. Boxing, on the other hand, imposed a strict, rule-based system where every move had to be deliberate and measured. Bruce didn't attempt to blend the two into a single, unified approach. Instead, he viewed them as distinct tools, using each one depending on what the situation demanded. This mindset was evident during the 1958 boxing tournament, where Bruce didn't see the event as a clash between two distinct cultures or fighting philosophies. Instead, he saw it as a simple assignment: compete within the boundaries of the rules, adjust where necessary, and make the best of the situation. This approach shows how early on Bruce learned to separate his personal habits from the structure of a given system. Hong Kong's unique environment played a major role in shaping this adaptable mindset. It was common for students to navigate between English-speaking classrooms and Cantonese-speaking street life every day. In school, physical education followed British methods, while personal identity was heavily influenced by traditional Chinese customs. Bruce Lee absorbed both worlds, never feeling the need to fully commit to one side or the other. This cultural mixture made it natural for him to step into a boxing ring without feeling out of place. It wasn't an anomaly for Bruce to compete in a boxing match. It was simply part of the world he grew up in. Looking back today, this match isn't just an obscure footnote in Bruce Lee's history. It represents the first documented instance of him adapting to a regulated environment. Long before he gained fame, long before he developed his martial arts philosophy, and long before the world had any expectations of him. The significance of the match lies in the fact that it revealed how Bruce processed constraints and used whatever techniques worked, even if they didn't perfectly align with his background. This approach would eventually influence the world of martial arts far beyond Hong Kong. The path to the tournament. Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing fight didn't start inside the ring. It began with patterns of behavior that those around him frequently noticed. As a teenager, Bruce was quick to act, often moving before thinking, and treating conflict as something to address immediately. Fights outside of school became a regular occurrence, and adults began to worry about the direction his behavior might take. Recognizing his need for structure, they found an outlet for him: the Hong Kong School's boxing tournament. This was a safer and more controlled alternative, offering discipline and boundaries to channel Bruce's energy. So why boxing? And why did it happen at St. Francis Xavier School? The school hosted an annual boxing tournament against a rival school in Hong Kong, which wasn't meant to be a grand spectacle. This competition was designed around discipline, with strict rules and a strong emphasis on order. It wasn't about showcasing power or fighting skills or fame. It was about understanding and practicing control, teamwork, and fair competition. Students were expected to follow the rules, adhere to approved techniques, and stay within set boundaries. This structure fit perfectly with what the adults around Bruce were hoping to teach him: controlled decision-making instead of relying on spontaneous reactions. When the school needed fighters, Bruce's sharp reflexes and quick movement made him an obvious choice. His sports master didn't try to turn him into a traditional boxer, though. Instead, Bruce was given the essentials: stand correctly, strike within the rules, and defend himself without relying on Wing Chun techniques that might get him penalized. At the time, no one could have known just how significant this seemingly ordinary event would become. There was no sense of expectation for Bruce to do anything special. He was simply a teenager representing his school in a competition, with clear restrictions on his movements and limited skills compared to seasoned boxers. But in hindsight, this quiet beginning would become historically significant. It's now recognized as the only officially documented fight tied to Bruce Lee's name. This setting offered a unique form of neutrality. Bruce wasn't a star at this point. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a martial arts icon. He was just a teenager with potential, stepping into a competitive environment that placed strict limits on his usual techniques. And this environment provides an invaluable glimpse into how Bruce Lee operated in a completely stripped-down setting before the world molded him into the legendary figure he would become. Looking back, it becomes clear that this tournament wasn't a major event in Hong Kong sporting history. However, for Bruce, it marked the first real instance where he had to adapt to a set of rules he didn't choose in a situation where expectations weren't created by him. This match offers the first documented evidence of how Bruce Lee responded under constraints, and how his ability to adapt would go on to reshape the martial arts world in the years that followed. How boxing rules bent his style. Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing match presented him with a clear challenge. His Wing Chun techniques simply couldn't be used within the structure of the boxing rules. Boxing's strict regulations prohibited key components of Wing Chun, like hand trapping, close-range control, and the ability to fight at a distance that Wing Chun typically aims to close. For someone trained to engage directly with opponents, these constraints meant Bruce had to carefully modify his approach. This brings up a central question. How do you retain your strengths when half of your toolkit is off limits? Bruce's solution came through a process of selective adaptation, under the guidance of his mentor, Wang Shunliang. Bruce broke down his habits and carefully chose the elements of Wing Chun that would still be effective under boxing's restrictions. Rather than seeing the rules as barriers, Bruce embraced them as a framework that demanded a new approach to his skills. The first area that Bruce modified was his punching technique. In Wing Chun, chain punches are a staple, but these wouldn't fit the legal structure of boxing. So, Bruce adapted by shifting to short, controlled bursts of punches that maintained the same directness and efficiency without violating the rules. He replaced trapping techniques with legal parries, boxing's version of redirecting an opponent's attack, and adjusted his stance to move away from Wing Chun's rooted position to something lighter, quicker, and more responsive. This change allowed him to enter and exit the range rapidly, preserving his energy while controlling the distance between him and his opponent. Bruce's movement inside the ring was notably different from a typical boxer. Instead of following a conventional pattern of circling around his opponent, he moved directly in and out. Instead of bouncing rhythmically like a boxer, Bruce stayed solid, conserving his energy and only springing into action when the moment demanded it. This adjustment in movement created a unique rhythm that confused Gary Elms, his opponent. Because Bruce didn't follow the predictable boxing cadence, jab, jab, circle, Elms was forced to reset his timing repeatedly. The mismatch in expectations became one of the key factors in Bruce's success. Gary Elms, a seasoned boxer, was accustomed to a rhythm built on jab setups, defensive cycles, and patterned footwork. Bruce, on the other hand, didn't play into these rhythms. He disrupted them at every turn, forcing Elms to react instead of dictating the pace of the match. This was a fusion of Wing Chun and boxing. It was a tactical response to the specific limitations of the competition. Bruce kept the efficiency of Wing Chun while working within boxing's constraints, discarding anything that didn't help him in the moment. What's even more significant is that Bruce's ability to adjust didn't come from a forced blending of styles. It was a product of the environment he grew up in. Hong Kong's multicultural, hybrid nature taught students to constantly switch between systems, whether it was language customs or social expectations. Bruce Lee brought this same flexibility into his physical movements. He wasn't trying to preserve a style for the sake of it. He wasn't defending Wing Chun for the sake of tradition. He was simply focusing on staying effective in the situation presented to him. This adaptability, while often overlooked, was a foundational aspect of Bruce's approach to martial arts. He didn't try to make boxing fit Wing Chun, nor did he reject boxing because it was restrictive. Instead, he adapted the situation, removing friction, minimizing unnecessary movement, and adjusting to whatever rules the environment demanded. Even as a teenager, Bruce had already developed this practical, problem-solving mindset, a mindset that would define his later teachings and martial arts philosophy. The first round that changed everything. The first round of Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing fight is where the true impact of his adjustments became apparent. From the very beginning, Bruce didn't try to overpower Gary Elms. Instead, he disrupted Elms's rhythm and forced him to react. Elms struggled to match Bruce's timing because Bruce wasn't following predictable pace of traditional boxers. So, what made Bruce so difficult to read? His decisions were simple, direct, and effective. Instead of following the usual approach of using a long jab and circling around his opponent, Bruce stepped in immediately, closing the distance and landing punches before Elms could stabilize. His punches arrived in tight, rapid bursts. There was no showmanship, no flashy techniques, just precise, controlled strikes. Early in the round, Bruce unleashed a series of straight punches down the center. They weren't designed to overwhelm, but they were fast and precise, landing quickly enough to push Elms back and destabilize his balance. That shift in control marked the moment when the fight's momentum started to shift in Bruce's favor. The first knockdown came shortly after. Gary Elms, despite getting back up quickly and showing impressive resilience, was already on the back foot. With each knockdown, Bruce gained more control. Each reset forced Elms to defend earlier than he wanted, and Bruce remained composed, entering when necessary and stepping back out before Elms could mount a counterattack. Witnesses reported that Bruce's control didn't come from sheer force. It came from his ability to land first, not harder. His timing was impeccable, and he made Elms react instead of allowing Elms to initiate the action. Because Bruce's rhythm was so different from what Elms was accustomed to, Elms had to adjust his response at every turn. In boxing, Fighters trained to react to a certain pattern. The jab, the setup, the exchange of punches. But Bruce didn't give Elms a chance to settle into those patterns. Instead of circling, he came straight in. Instead of giving Elms the space to throw jabs and set up attacks, Bruce disrupted the rhythm before it even started. Elms was forced to reset multiple times, which threw off his ability to form a predictable defense. The more he tried to establish a rhythm, the more Bruce forced him out of it. This wasn't about Bruce being more powerful or physically dominant. It was about him breaking the familiar flow that Elms depended on. By making Elms constantly adjust, Bruce turned the fight into a test of timing and adaptability. While Elms had the experience and natural talent of a champion boxer, Bruce's ability to break the rhythm created a constant source of pressure, forcing Elms into an unfamiliar space. By the end of the first round, the dynamic was clear. Gary Elms, the defending champion, was now responding to Bruce's pressure rather than leading the match. Bruce was controlling the tempo, and it wasn't through brute strength. It was through an intuitive understanding of timing, pressure, and rhythm disruption. This first round didn't just set the tone for the match. It marked the beginning of a strategy that would dominate the rest of the fight. The long fight that tested both men. As the match continued into the later rounds, Gary Elms showed incredible toughness. Despite the knockdowns and the pressure Bruce had placed on him, Elms refused to stay down for long. Each time he was knocked to the canvas, he got up, determined to continue fighting. His resilience forced Bruce into a longer, more drawn-out test of skill, accuracy, and stamina, rather than a quick, decisive finish based on power alone. This brings us to the central question. How did Bruce maintain his advantage without exhausting himself? The answer lies in his approach to pacing and his ability to manage energy. Bruce was meticulous about each movement he made. He didn't chase after risky finishes or throw wild, uncalculated punches. Instead, he only attacked when he saw a clear opening and disengaged quickly before Elms could mount any sort of counterattack. This style of fighting allowed Bruce to conserve his energy and control the flow of the match, rather than engaging in a drawn-out exchange of force. What's even more impressive is how Bruce adjusted his rhythm as the match progressed. Unlike traditional boxers who rely on repetitive patterns of offense and defense, Bruce avoided falling into predictable loops. If Elms pressed forward, Bruce adjusted his angles, creating new points of attack. If Elms attempted to reset, Bruce disrupted the rhythm once again, not allowing Elms to gain control. This constant disruption prevented Elms from building any meaningful momentum, which is crucial in boxing, where fighters rely on rhythm to dictate the flow of the match. As the round went on, it became evident that Bruce wasn't just relying on speed or skill. He was using his brain as much as his body. His decisions were calculated, precise, and deliberate. Every strike, every movement, was designed with purpose and without waste. Observers noted that Bruce didn't rely on brute strength or excessive power. His success came from his timing, his ability to land clean shots first, and his careful control of the match's tempo. Boxing's scoring system further worked in Bruce's favor. Points were awarded for clean, effective strikes and knockdowns, both of which Bruce delivered consistently throughout the match. He didn't need a dramatic knockout finish. His strategy was to keep applying pressure, making sure each clean strike further widened the gap in the scorecards. Even when Elms showed toughness by getting back up after every knockdown, his attempts to reestablish control became more difficult with each passing minute. Bruce's calm, controlled style of fighting not only conserved his energy, but also wore Elms down, making him expend more and more effort without being able to gain any real ground. Another key element of Bruce's success was his ability to stay unpredictable. In a long fight, fighters often fall into familiar patterns of movement and timing, but Bruce didn't allow Elms to settle into any rhythm. Whether it was shifting his angle of attack or breaking the rhythm with quick bursts of action, Bruce kept Elms on edge, never giving him the opportunity to fully respond. This was part of Bruce's larger strategy. Don't give your opponent a chance to build momentum. If you can disrupt their rhythm enough, they'll tire themselves out trying to adjust to you. By the time the final rounds arrived, the outcome of the fight was becoming clearer. While Elms kept getting up after each knockdown, his ability to counter and regain control was steadily diminishing. Bruce had created a sizable lead, not through sheer force, but through strategic precision, timing, and energy management. The fight had become a battle of willpower and strategy, and Bruce was emerging as the more adaptable fighter. As the final bell rang, the fight wasn't decided by a dramatic knockout, but by the accumulation of points. Bruce's consistent strategy of landing clean, accurate shots and keeping the pressure on his opponent had earned him the advantage. By the end of the match, it was clear that Bruce Lee's ability to adapt, control the rhythm, and stay efficient had won the day. Gary Elms, despite his toughness and resilience, had been outpaced and outsmarted. This match, while not spectacular in its dramatic finishes, was an early demonstration of Bruce Lee's philosophical approach to martial arts. It was about efficiency, adaptability, and maintaining control even under the most taxing conditions. Bruce didn't need to prove his power or his stamina in the traditional sense. Instead, he proved that with precision and a clear understanding of the situation, he could outmaneuver his opponent without overexerting himself. What the match meant today. Looking back at Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing fight through the lens of modern martial arts, it's striking how relevant his approach still is. In 1958, the concept of blending techniques from different combat systems was barely discussed. Yet, Bruce Lee seemed to naturally approach the fight with that mindset. His focus wasn't on challenging tradition or making a philosophical statement. It was about solving a practical problem, how to function within a rule set that didn't align with his training. The match holds significance today because it captures the first recorded instance of Bruce applying a concept that would later revolutionize martial arts: adaptability. He didn't insist on using Wing Chun as is, nor did he reject boxing because it restricted him. Instead, he focused on what the situation required, applying only the techniques that worked within the confines of the boxing rules. His performance in that match was a precursor to what would later become Jeet Kune Do, a martial art built on the principles of simplicity, adaptability, and effectiveness. Bruce Lee's only recorded boxing match may seem like a small event in the grand scheme of his legacy, but it holds invaluable lessons for anyone who's passionate about martial arts or self-improvement. It shows us that true mastery isn't about force or tradition. It's about adapting, staying focused, and finding what works in any given moment. Bruce's approach to combat and life was always about efficiency, clarity, and adaptability. So, whether you're training in martial arts or facing challenges in your own life, remember, the key to success is not about perfection, but about being smart, flexible, and ready to learn from every experience. Keep pushing forward, stay adaptable, and never stop improving. You never know when your own defining moment might come. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.